Hi, this is Brooks with Character Design Forge. We spend a lot of time in these videos talking about what goes on the page and on the screen when we're creating artwork. And in this video, I thought that we could focus on our actual surroundings, our workspace, when we're creating artwork. So for me personally, I just finished up a lot of work here in my own office, reorganizing things, improving things. I'll actually show you a little bit later on in the video some of the progress around here if you're interested. But this idea of having a creative space that works for you has been fresh in mind for me recently. Now, each individual person's ideal workspace is going to be different, just as much as your idea for a dream house is going to be different from the next person's. So some people like to head out to coffee shops to get their work done. Some people have a desk in their bedroom, perhaps, that they work at, and you might even have a dedicated office space. So no matter what preferred workspace you might like to have, or perhaps by circumstance the only one that is available to you, the common thread that runs through all good creative workspaces is that they work for you. And so we're going to talk about a few things to keep in mind. So real quick, let's look at a scenario. You have a desk that you like to create artwork at that maybe sits at the end of your bed in your bedroom. Now, this desk is pretty much cleaned off. You have a few decorations on it, maybe a drawing pad area or your computer setup, but otherwise it's ideal for your work. Now, one day you come home, put your keys down on the desk, but otherwise it's pretty much cleaned off. Then you put some bags down from shopping. Then you do a load of laundry and maybe move the laundry onto your desk. Now, maybe eventually your desk fills up with so much stuff that all you can do is use your computer. Now what happens when you want to use this space, or perhaps feel motivated to use this space to start drawing? Well, there's that obstacle in place of all of this stuff. Maybe even if you moved out just enough area, it's still a very cluttered space. I get a lot of questions from you guys talking about motivation. You want motivation to be able to do artwork, and this is one of the biggest areas, is having a clean and clear, dedicated area to do your artwork so that you can just go to it as soon as possible. You may have realized, depending on your personality, that artists, we tend to be kind of finicky. We need a lot of things to fall into place to even start on our work, or perhaps to work at our maximum capacity. So breaking this down a little bit, your creative workspace needs to, first of all, not be cluttered. And that might be different for you than it is for me. For me, obviously, I have a lot of things on surfaces here in my office, and I'll talk a little bit about why that is a little later on in this video. But I still have enough space to do the work that I need to. Second, your workspace should be free of things that distract you. Maybe the figurines that are on my desk would be distracting to you. We talked about how some people go to coffee shops and feel like they get their work done best there. But if you're the kind of person who all of the people around you would start to distract you, obviously that won't be ideal for you either. Also, having things around like television that can help you to procrastinate or get distracted, it's best to keep those things at a minimum as well. Something really interesting that I came across in sort of researching creative workspaces a few years back has to do with ceiling height. And it's actually the kind of work that we're best able to accomplish in relation to the height of the ceiling. So maybe from your own experience, you can relate to this. So actually high ceilings, we're supposed to have a correlation to having a sort of big picture thinking with ideas, letting your brain wander. And then low ceilings, in contrast, had to do with efficiency, sort of putting your head down and working harder and staying focused on one task. Keeping that in mind, you might actually look to change up your creative workspace or have different creative workspaces depending on the kind of work that you're doing. So as crazy as this sounds, my own creative workspace for the longest time, especially this office here, has been a source of a kind of mental block. This office space isn't necessarily that big, and it has a peak roof in the middle, which kind of cuts down on a little bit of the vertical space, but it's a pretty substantial size for an office. Now, what you guys see in frame here in video probably isn't too bad, but the area behind the camera, or at least for the longest time, was a source of angst for me. It was, at best, something that I described as a child's storage area. So it was just a collection of crates and boxes, nothing really organized well, a couple of like $20 shelves from Target and Walmart, and you see it on screen there. I kind of blurred it out for just the atrocity that it was. I decided it was time to overhaul my office, especially this specific area. And I wrote down first the things that I wanted an office to accomplish. That way I could sort of allow all of the stuff that was in here to sort of mold around that idea. And if anything was left over, I could get rid of it. I decided I wanted an additional angle to shoot videos from. And this is just to add some interest to these videos, to change things up from time to time. I also wanted basically a second desk, a large work area that doesn't already have my computer on it, and here's where I can draw on, I can read at, perhaps work on some things hands-on without a bunch of stuff in the way. So I cleared out the whole area, got rid of some things initially, and got a few shelves from IKEA that could double as stands for a new desk that also could be cabinets and storage. Some of these shelves became bookshelves with books out on display, and in others I had some sliding bins for storage where I could sort of hide some things away. Some of these shelves became bookshelves where books can be out on display, and in others I put some bins where you can sort of keep things out of sight. Since the desktop doesn't need to hold a lot of weight, it's not bearing a computer or computer monitor, the cheap solution that I went with was actually a flush hardwood door. I ended up staining the door to give it a little bit of a smooth surface, and I took a little bit of a gamble. I put a vinyl version of my logo in the center of the door, and I honestly didn't think that it would hold up because just hardwood can be so porous that I figured the stain would seep under the vinyl and into sort of the bounds of that stencil. I was really happy when the stencil turned out perfectly. If I was going to go back though, I would choose a brush stain instead of a spray stain. Now, I have a lot of experience with spray cans when it comes to painting things for work, but I just found that the particular brand that I used left a lot of spots, so it would drip these big globs of stain out onto the door, and you'll see it kind of along the desk. It's kind of speckled with these spots that I couldn't really do much with. So this is the final result that I'm really happy with. Sorry about the lighting and focus. I'll have to work on that for future videos. This whole area I really like. The shelves next to the desk, because on this side of the office I have a lot of figurines that you guys have seen on top of desks. In order to reduce the idea of clutter, I kept the tops of those completely cleaned off. By the way, I did say I would talk about why I have so many figurines all over my office, and for a lot of people in art and animation, they totally understand it. Other people, it's almost like, why does this adult have shelves and shelves of toys? And one reason, of course, is that I do genuinely like these, but there is actually a deeper reason that starts in the Monsters, Inc. DVD bonus features. Now, I don't remember how old I was, probably between 10 and 12, but on this bonus features disc of the Monsters, Inc. DVD, they tour Pixar. And I was going through this disc like crazy because I loved not just the movie, but the act and art of making this movie. The fact that people were coming together to draw characters and animate in 3D. I couldn't get enough of it. And of course, these offices in Pixar are designed or decorated kind of eccentrically. They've kind of got one mocked up like a tiki bar. And others, a lot of them had surfaces and shelves filled with figurines and toys. And I think ever since then I've had this correlation in the back of my head between having shelves full of toys and being able to create art and do the job that you love. And it's almost like a little source of satisfaction that I'm able to do that because now I'm in that role where I can create artwork for a living. And so that's my silly little link. Of course I like these things, but that's sort of the deeper meaning behind them. And those few people, there you go. Hopefully you understand now, just a little bit more. Also, third thing behind I like them and deep connection to a Pixar DVD, a lot of these things are just really good character designs, and they're not just 2D drawings, they're models that you can rotate and look at. That's helpful for me sometimes when I'm just looking for inspiration or I'm stuck with something. I have some actual physical things to look at. So that's a look at my workspace and creative workspaces in general. I'd actually love to hear from you guys what's worked for you, and maybe even link a picture of your workspace, your desk, your office. I know that if you link an image on YouTube, it is possible, it'll just kind of push that into a box where it's pending moderator approval, but I'll go through. If you're not linking spam and you're actually linking a picture of your workspace, I'll approve it and everyone can see. That's it for me today. I'm making new videos every week at Character Design Forge. Subscribing on YouTube lets you know when new videos are made available. If you're interested in supporting me a little bit more, head over to patreon.com/bageldenizen, where you can see things like artwork I haven't released elsewhere and exclusive videos just for Patreon subscribers. My course, Learn Character Design, is a comprehensive character design curriculum. Head over to learncharacterdesign.com to find out more. Thank you for watching.
Lance, we're still missing the blue lion.
And have fun creating.